welcome to Fantasy Fives, a new podcast where I, Ray Bradshaw, chat to various people who will answer my messages about their dream five-a-side football team. Got two rules. One, you need to have a player from the team you support in this five-a-side team, and the manager of this team needs to be someone in your phone book. This week, we're joined by the brilliant Scottish comedian Marc Jennings. Marc is sitting across from me, so I'm going to say stuff that will make him feel uncomfortable. Marc has his own huge success podcast filmed in a shed called Some Laugh that I would highly recommend checking out. If you're going to check out the Raymond Mearns episode. Sam Campbell episode was very good. Mark's a brilliant stand-up, sold out the King's Theatre in Glasgow last year. He's got a great special on YouTube, and we previously lived together for 2 weeks in Australia, and it was the worst 2 weeks of my life. Marc Jennings, how are we?
I'm alright. Why was it the worst?
I don't know. I just felt I had to say something. It was nice. What I would say about you is you're very diligent when you're writing, and you're very scared of bees and sharks. That's what I realised when we were living together.
Well, there was a bee nest, and like we had, it wasn't quite a garden.
It was like a courtyard, but like a jail courtyard, wasn't it?
It was kind of, it was like, when you'd get in prison, or like even like a wee tiny bit like in Big Brother or something almost.
Yeah.
And I was out there writing one day, and then there was like hundreds of bees coming out of this wee hole, and then I was scared, and then you had to go out and get my washing.
I think about that a lot. I think I told that story about you every time.
Yeah.
Marc, how's life? Because you're not touring yet. Touring's coming up in like a few
Summer
months.
tour.
Yeah, so how are you finding all that?
Good. I'm just working on the show at the moment, but I've never really done proper kind of UK tour. So I'm doing a UK and Ireland tour.
You've always got to chuck in the island, by the way. People get so pissed off.
Well, I know, and actually, I think that when you see a lot of people and they don't even go there, I always think, like, why not? Like, you know, because I really enjoy.
So where you go? How many dates? Where you going? Where's
about 15? So like, I'm doing handful in Scotland, handful in England, and 4 in Ireland. So
great. You do Belfast as well?
Belfast and Derry in the north.
Ooh,
so
nailing your colours to the mast there with Derry as well. I like it.
Well, you know, after I got that joke I done about it, so I think after that, I need to
it's kind of gone that way. So
yeah.
With this tour, this is what I'm always fascinated about. We're selling good, we're selling bad. Is there anywhere you're worried about?
Do you know where's selling surprisingly well is Perth?
The
Perth Theatre.
Yes, is it like the 250? I've done that one. That's a lovely venue.
It's a nice room and it's looking good already. So we're a good few months out still. So it's
what's the one that's making you panic?
Birmingham.
What was mine? Aylesbury, Swindon, like places you're like, why are you doing that? Yeah, Birmingham fine. If you're in Birmingham and after.
But it's a Friday night. I think it'll be all right by the time, but it's just, you know, there's not a lot of early adopters for Marc Jennings in the Midlands, it seems.
And I know I've lived with you. I know you're a big football fan. I've seen you turn up in Adelaide, Glenelg Beach in a full Celtic top without the socks, but still wearing shinnies, which was an odd choice. What does football mean to you?
I mean, it's just sort of, I think the way I look at it now, like, you know, obviously when you're younger and you grow up with it, it's like you're everything into it and you're all encompassing and you kind of live vicariously through. I think when you're a kid, right, because you know, what do you do? You go to school and you do your homework, you know, so you can put your hopes and dreams into these teams, you know. But obviously when you get older and I think you can have a bit more of a healthy relationship with it, whereas it's like, you know, it used to be like, you know, if your team lose, you're devastated and it ruins your whole life. And listen, there's a lot of adults that's still the case for, and quite rightly so, right? But I think what's nice about being a football supporter as you get older is you know, you get your own life and your own, you know, personal life and your career ambitions and this and that. And then football can just be this thing that's like a nice wee positive in it. And so it's like, oh, the game's on, my team are playing, and you watch it and, you know, you can get a lot of excitement out of it. And obviously if they lose, then the good thing is now is you can compartmentalise it and go, well, at least it doesn't affect my life, it doesn't change, you know, paying the bills or my family or whatever. And also at the very least, like, see if you go to games with like your friends or family or whatever.
You go to a lot of games.
I used to have a season ticket at Celtic who I support, and then like I had to kind of get up kind of around the time I started comedy. I didn't really have the money and, you know, the time and all this because I was working still. But what's good about it is, like, at least if you lose as well, like, you can go, you know, you're with your dad, your family, your friends or whatever, and then it's like camaraderie, you get a couple of pints or you spend time with people that you maybe don't always see as often outside of it.
How often is it working for you? Because I see you often like maybe, and this happens to me as well, but when I support Thistle, it's much easier to get a ticket. You'll put up on a Thursday or Friday going, any spares for the game? And then you always seem to be 2 days later at the game. How is that working?
Well, actually, that happened last week, but I had a ticket already, but I was trying to get one for my mate. But actually, I've got a mate, funny enough, talk about Perfeita, but my mate Ross, who works for Perfeita, often has a spare.
Depot, baby.
So I've been at most of the games I've been at in the last year is basically he's had a spare. So I've got to enjoy quite a lot of fun nights through that, basically.
I know, because it must be annoying supporting a team that's good all the time. I can't relate.
Well, I mean, but then you get Champions League and we get pumped all. Although we've done all right.
That was enjoyable. So let's go through. I've asked you to pick your fantasy five-a-side team.
Mm-hmm.
How did you find it? Easy or hard?
Hard. I found it.
What was your thought process? What made it hard?
Here's my process. The difficulty I found was that I'm like, this might not work as a concept for a podcast. No,
welcome to my life.
No, do you know what it was? It's because the terms are pretty wide.
Yeah.
So you kind of like I think the narrower the brief sometimes the easier it can be. Whereas this is like literally you can have anyone for any walk of life ever.
Yep.
That's like going when somebody goes, guess what my name is.
Yeah.
And you go, well, it could literally be in.
But sometimes you get close.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Well, as I say, like I've changed what I was going to do because my initial thoughts, right, were because you said pick a name, right? And the first thing that sprang to mind was when I was like young, when I was high school age, and the first time.
It's going to be the young Clydebank Fleet.
No, that is what I'm going to do, but that wasn't my initial thought.
Yeah,
was because do you remember like the first time you ever done fantasy football? Because it's massive now.
Mine's been doing about 2004, I think.
Yeah, but it's in a similar way I'm saying about like living vicariously through teams when you're young versus fantasy football, like versus now. I think fantasy football, I do sort of see it as a wee guy thing to do.
Yes, 100% agree. One of my mates, Mac, who you know, dedicated like a year of his life to it, and this is only about 5-6 years ago, finishing like the top 1,000 in the UK, but it was like to the detriment of relationships and mental health.
Absolutely.
Like,
I think unless you've got a job, right, where you're getting paid regardless and you've got hours to kill in an office, to like look at, because who's got the time to look at the fixtures and see who's playing and who's injured and all that sort of stuff. When I was in high school and I remember doing it, and my team name was Shakhtar Rotten, which
that's quite good.
Which I think I must have seen somewhere else. Like, and it's a silly wee thing. And at the time when I was 14, I found it funny. Maybe now it's a wee bit more problematic.
Mine was Getafe my leg.
That's good.
But I think I'm sure I've heard that from someone.
It's like the classic of like Sunday league teams and that into Real Sociedads and all this sort of stuff. But it was that, and so I thought it might be an idea to do like a five-a-side team of just the top shaggers. But
I mean, some of the other top shaggers have been mentioned already. So who would have been your shag? Are you going for the shagger team or not?
Well, here was the thing, right? Because I sort of thought, well, that's like I don't want it to be too pure, like that. And I read this definition online. It's like, well, being a shagger, it's not. It's not like some Russell Brandon thing or whatever. It's like, it can just be you put this person in any time or whatever, and they'll be like the alpha. They'll rule the roost. They'll kind of be the guy. So like, but I did, to be fair, just have a bunch of shaggers.
Right. So Alan McGregor was in goals.
Yeah, that was that. He obviously that was his nickname, wasn't it? And then would have Machiavelli, of course, George Best, etc. Van Dijk, but then I looked up his thing and I realised it was a bit fucked up.
Is he a shagger?
Well, there was a story about him shagging a Scottish porn star when he was at Celtic years ago. Yeah, but I looked it up and I think it was while his wife was pregnant, something like that. It's not really accurate. I'm like,
Rio Ferdinand defence, not good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but I just thought, do you know what? I went for a different option, and so
give me your team name.
So it's funny you mentioned about the Clydebank Fleetwood thing. So my young team when I was growing up was the Hillshed young team.
Hillshed, okay.
And I think on Football Manager I actually did once make a team called Hillshed United.
Yes. And
where I changed our players' names to our names for.
What position do you put yourself?
Oh, I was up front, obviously. Yeah. It's like when I used to play FIFA, I would make myself at Celtic. I think I'd make him as tall as he could be, 99 stats, tall and like just amazing at everything. And
just like life, innit?
Yeah, and if I'd spent that time actually playing football, I could have maybe had more of a better career.
So what you call yourself, the Hillshed
United.
Hillshed United.
That's what I'm
okay.
gonna go for.
And it's funny you saying my young team as you sit here drinking your coffee and your quarter zip. It's quite hard to put those things together.
I'm like,
were you a founding member of the young team?
No.
Affiliate?
There was a long history of this. We were the youngers,
Yeah.
right? But even back to when my dad grew up, like, I think they were kicking about then.
Was he a Hillshed loyal?
They were called the Hillshed Rockies back then. But it's like a franchise that changes name. So. It's like when Dundee United or Dundee Hibernians were and they change it. So I was like, and that was my mates were in it, and so like I ended up hanging out with some people. It was just you're just young boys on BMXs.
You don't have young team energy.
No, I don't. But I was accepted by the young team. And
I didn't deny that.
And I always remember the time when this was the time when all the young teams had these like websites, and it'd be like different websites and that, and they'd always be like, hated but hated, don't mess with us. And then it'd be, but remember signing the guest book. That was always a big thing. Everybody did a guest book then. And even you remember signing the guest book.
I do remember this.
That was like the like and subscribe of like the early 2000s.
.tk and all that.
That was it. .am.
Jeez, I've not thought about that in about 25 years.
Remember signing the guest book. That was
Oh, right. Okay, so you're Hillshed United. Formation. What are we going?
Well, for a five-a-sides, it's like a manager now when they say like they build a system around the players.
Okay,
that's very much what
so
I'm
you're
doing.
just going fluid here.
Yeah. Well, depending on when we get to the players, I think it'll become evident. I've tried to get somebody for kind of every sort of position.
So let's start with goalkeeper. So bear in mind you need to have one player who has played for Celtic at some point. Goalkeeper, who are you going for?
Can.
Oliver Can.
Genghis Khan.
Is that actually?
Yeah.
You're actually going Genghis.
Because the theme of this Hillshed United is it's all best fighters.
Right,
Scrappers.
you go scrappers.
Scrappers. That's what I'm going for.
Okay, so Genghis Khan.
Genghis Khan right now, because I mean he conquered bloody half the known world, right? It's funny you mentioned Oliver Kahn though.
You duped me in with Khan as well. That was clever.
The thing, but that's why I'm putting him in goals, right? Because I think that Genghis Khan, apparently like 1 in 8 people might be related to him. So there's a chance that Oliver Khan got his goalkeeping skills from his ancestor.
Genghis Khan then could have been in the Shaggers team as well.
But that is actually, he was initially going to be in the Shaggers team.
I can see your logic. Right, so you got Genghis Khan in goals. What age is he at this time?
Well, I think I don't know what he even lived to. But let's see peak. Like, I think all these guys are in their prime at this
can
point.
we get a check in this? Let's see what age Genghis. Are you able to Google that for
like
me?
900 or 2000 or something like that.
How old was Genghis Khan when he died?
My question was more, is he going to have his horse on the pitch? Like, could you just put the horse in front of the goals?
I'm not against that.
Is that cheating?
I'm not against that at all.
And he could have like his hordes like there is because again like my like, local like youth teams and all that. Like, do you ever like when you're playing like Sunday League and all that, and there'd be teams that have big support, it'd be all the BAMs like cheering them on.
I hate it.
That was like my local one, and I think that Genghis Khan's always like.
What was the local pitches to you?
It was Golden Hill was the one I'm talking about. They were like they would always have like a big.
There's some I've played. He was 65 when he died, right? Okay, so you can have Genghis Khan at any age.
I'm going to say, well, peak for a keeper's about 30, 32, 33 in it.
Okay, yeah. And then what age is his horse?
How old horses? I don't know.
I don't know how old horses
But
get
they've got Fitbit boots on. They've got they've got Preddies.
Okay, so they've got Preddies. Something beautiful about just going to the Fives pitch and be like, oh fuck, I might be late. I need to go to the blacksmith. get the Preddies done. Paint in the wee side. Right, so Genghis Khan is your goalie.
Yeah.
On a horse in his 30s. What do you think he'll bring to your team?
I think that you need. I think like leading for the back. You know, like a keeper that can, because obviously a five-a-sides pitch is pretty small. If you've got a keeper dictating play and shouting at the defenders and all that sort of stuff, I think that's important, and he knows how to be a leader. So
were you thinking other dictators, or was Genghis Khan always your first choice?
Genghis Khan was. I mean, the logic was from the Shaggers team, to be fair. But then I thought, well, you know, he was a good scrapper as well, of course.
So Hillshed United's goalie is Genghis Khan. Who's your first defensive-minded player, if you have any? If not, we can move further forward.
Vinnie Jones.
Okay.
I did think about going for Pepe from Real Madrid, but or famously Real Madrid, but not
chicken
anymore.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Which is my favourite chicken chain. Shout out. But I thought Vinnie Jones, because like, you know, we're not just confining it to footballers, and he obviously had a great career. Oh shit! I just dropped my glasses.
That's right.
He had a great career, obviously, as an actor.
Would you say a great career?
Well, he had a career. Mean Machine, is that not? That's pretty good, isn't it?
Mean Machine, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. I think that's kind of where it goes, doesn't it?
Or
Snatch.
Yeah, I think he was maybe in that. A guy we know, Eddie Brimson, when we were in Australia, said he used to play with or against Vinnie Jones in a team. I don't know what point of the Vinnie Jones' career this would have been, because it was...
For the listeners who may not have met Eddie Brimson, brilliant stand-up, brilliant author. Can you describe how each of his stories would end? Each of his stories would end.
It's got a little bit naughty.
It got a little bit naughty. And then I fucked her. That's how every story finished. Eddie was so good.
Actually, Eddie should make both of my teams the shaggers, are they?
Right, so Vinnie Jones, I'm taking, we're looking at him from his Wimbledon days, the famous Gaza ball grab. What do you think? Do you think he'll be aggressive, or do you think he'll be good in the ball? What do you think he'll do?
I think that the key to this team is that they are all aggressive. Like, it's just, you know that way when you play fives and somebody just is a hacking bastard, basically. That's the whole team.
Okay. I like it. Just aggression, all right. So I'm going to ask you more about the team once we get the whole, if we're going to do aggression then. So we'll leave Vinnie Jones for there. Who's your next player in this team?
Next player in the team is, and this is my Celtic connection here, Roy Keane.
Right, okay.
Obviously only played for us for like 5 months or whatever, right?
It works.
My favourite story about Roy Keane playing for Celtic, and I don't even know where this comes from, if it's been verified, but it was his first game was against Clyde in the Scottish Cup, and we got beat.
Yep.
And then apparently he came on the team bus after, and he seen John Hartson eating a packet of crisps. And he was just like, I made a mistake.
Why is that such a bad thing to be eating crisps after a game?
Because he just came for like Man United, and obviously the standards were high. And normally
what, they not have skips? They don't have discos at Man U?
Well,
surely.
I don't know if they did or they didn't, but all I know, the thought of that coming from Man U, and goes to Celtic, get beat off you're playing in Cumbernauld against a lower league team, you get beat. And then, the first thing you see when you come off the bus, what's the post-game rituals? Eating a bag of Monster Munch or whatever.
Well, this is the two questions I've got. It's funny that he left Man U where someone got a boot in their face and someone fly-kicked one. But he saw Chris, he was like, no, this is a step too far.
Well, that's very much in keeping with Roy Keane. He'd have loved the boot and the fly kick.
John Hartson, a very handsome man, I think we can all agree. What's his crisp of choice, do you think? What do we think?
He strikes his guy, it'd be like plain ready salted Walkers or something.
Is he red Walkers?
I get a bit some pure shitey, horrible taste, like even an Asda own brand or something like that. He'd maybe go for. It wouldn't be a fashionable one anyway.
When you said Asda own brand, is he having all 6-packs? Or
I think what he's done right is he's taken every individual pack out of a multi-pack and chucked it into the crisp and just eating it like it's one big massive bag. That's what I think Roy Keane's seen after his first game for Celtic.
How could you be annoyed at that?
I would honestly respect that move. I've thought about doing it myself many times. I think
I've never
they
thought
should
this.
just make crisps. Like, instead of having all the individual packets, just have that big multi-pack bag of crisps and just fill it with crisps. Yeah. And it's a one bag. Same flavour.
Oh, same flavour. Okay. Yeah. What about if you get like say we're doing the Walkers, 2 ready salted, 2 salt and vinegar, 2 sausage and onion. Are you doing it with that as well? Are you doing a mixie?
No, I wouldn't mix. I think
is that for pervert?
That's crazy. Revels, but it's crisps.
Yeah. Right, I think we've just made £1 million. That could be us. That's I love that idea. Also, I have John Hart's number, and I will be texting him later saying, "What's your crisp choice?" I've not texted him in a while, so I need to maybe do a follow-up.
I get the feeling he's probably been asked about that incident a lot, because it might be a myth. I don't know if it is or it isn't, but I want to believe it's true. That's the thing.
Feel like I've heard it's Pringles.
Yeah, it could be. Pringles would make sense, actually.
But I don't know if his hand could fit a Pringles chip.
That's true. But maybe he was just doing this with a chip, like just like like as a can of juice, just knocking it back. Which again would make Roy Keane's reaction understandable. Yeah. Obviously, the famous one with Roy Keane in terms of his hacking bastard career was Haaland's dad.
Yes, I think Haaland.
Which I did not know was the reason he'd done that was because years before when he played for Forest and Haaland's dad played for Leeds, Keane got injured.
Yeah,
and Haaland leaned over him and was like, get up,
that was it.
I did not realise that, and then later I just thought that Keane just
No, so it was a personal
It
vendetta.
was a vendetta,
Yeah, so
which
he
is
knew
crazy. But it's funny because you see Roy Keane now, and he's always like, whenever Sir Alex comes up, and he's like, was that the best thing for Man United? Employing your son or whatever, right?
Good impression.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then it's your job, right? But I've lost it. And but then it's funny, like, because Roy Keane's always like making his, Sir Alex, he was just doing stuff for himself, and it's like, was that the best thing for Man United? To fucking hack some guy, who hacked you when you played for another team?
Hack him. He just clipped him, and then he did. I think Keane did his ACL. I think, something like that. Right. So Genghis Khan,
and then Haaland's like, I'm going to raise the best player ever and make them play against your rivals.
And the thing is, with Haaland, he could play for England because he's born in Leeds.
Aye.
Which is madness, because I don't know if you ever heard Erling Haaland speak. He's like Yorkshire.
Aye, it's weird. Isn't it?
There's a great clip online of Erling Haaland ripping the piss out of John Stones' accent, and it's like, mate, you're from Barnsley and Leeds. Like,
was it no? Because he kept going the Louvre.
Yeah, he goes the Louvre. The Louvre. It's a really good clip. Right, so you got Genghis Khan, Vinnie Jones, Roy Keane. Who else is in this team of evil bastards?
You're no fucking messing with that. No. Well, so I had a couple of thoughts on this, right? Because I was tempted. I thought I need a bit of flair in there, right? Yeah. And maybe all these other players can be there protecting.
Genghis Khan on a horse isn't your flair. That seems pretty flairish.
Well, I think in the outfield, I'm talking, and I did consider going for Aidan McGeady and having him as my Celtic pick, because when I did have a season ticket at Celtic, he, for years under Strachan particularly, he basically carried the team, and he was the flair player, and he was brilliant. The thing I'll never forgive Gordon Strachan for is because he obviously he never liked McGeady.
Yeah.
And from all accounts as well, and I would often hear, like, around about the time he was playing, like, loads of people I knew would always meet him up the town and get in fights or arguments with him and all that. I always
I've heard a lot of them as well.
Allegedly, right?
Yeah.
That's I heard. So in a way, maybe he is a bit of a scrapper, right? But the thing I'll never forgive Strachan for is there was a famous transfer window. We could have bought Stephen Fletcher and we never. And we signed Willow Flood from Dundee United instead. And then, so Strachan would play McGeady every game, but then twice in a row against Rangers, he dropped him for Willow Flood. And, like, it was just, like, what are you doing? And then we lost the league that season, and I'll never kind of forgive Strachan for that.
Do you hate Willow Flood by proxy?
It's not his fault.
No.
He can't pick the team. It was Strachan being, his stubborn self, but by all accounts, but I actually thought because, I don't want to confine it too much to footballers when we've got literally anyone in the known or unknown universe.
So who you go for?
Francis Begbie. Because I actually thought with him and Keane, is it a bit like a Lampard Gerrard? Can they play in the same team? But I think that Begbie you could see him as a tricky winger.
Yeah.
And he would also have
I could be a left back. I think he'd be a left back.
He could be.
I feel like he would be there.
Let's put him, inverted winger or whatever they call it these days.
And has he got the pint glass with him?
In his hand, I think.
That seems dangerous.
And they don't. He's like, "Hey, cunts, opening that cage until you let us score." So I think Francis Begbie. I mean, again, you're just.
I feel like he would always be ready to go do something, so he'd always be shouting "next goal, the winner," and he just went out of it. That's what I feel about Begbie.
Aye, he's got somewhere else to. He's got business to attend to.
It's not good business, though, is it?
No.
Genghis Khan.
Well, he's a Scottish businessman, which means gangster.
Yeah, but Genghis Khan's fine to play the 60, and he's got to invade Mongolia.
That's true. Well, listen, they're all busy guys. You know what I mean? Yeah. Roy Keane's got an episode of a podcast to record every single minute, apparently now.
Okay, so you've got Begbie in there, and I presume that's full Trainspotting 1 or Trainspotting 2?
And Trainspotting 1 because they play football at the start of that as well, famously, remember?
Yeah.
There's that sort of scene in it, and they're all playing football and they're wearing the kind of fake Hibs jerseys. So there you go. So he's got a bit of experience as well.
A bit of experience compared to Roy Keane and Vinnie Jones. And your final player, because I want to talk about the dressing room in this mix in a minute. So your final player of these 5.
Mike Tyson. Because just when you think you can't get any scarier, it's like this guy might bite your ear off.
What strip did he wear?
Royal Rangers strip. There's a Scotland strip, I think, when he must have. I think he was fighting at Hampden once or something.
Was he? What, like match? Or
early
like...
2000. No, he's just in the crowd. No, I think he had a boxing fight in like 2001 or something, and it was at Hampden Park. Or it was somewhere in Glasgow anyway. So there's a picture of him in the Scotland strip. It's kind of like Craig Brown era.
So were you playing Tyson in this team?
Up front. I think he's like kind of. Yeah.
See, your hold up guy?
I think you could see him with a bit of pace. And he's one of the guys that he's like small but strong, which you kind of need in a striker.
I'm going to bring you a conundrum here.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that Francis Begbie will be making fun of the way Mike Tyson speaks.
But the thing is, Mike Tyson probably won't understand Begbie's accent.
Yes, so it's neutralised.
Yeah.
Is it? Okay.
See, doesn't he know? See, he's taking the piss of him over the top. And also, I think Begbie would be, it's like, you know, a gun recognising another gun.
Yeah,
Begbie knows he's just as mental as me, if no more.
Face tat, yeah.
Yeah.
So the dressing room, who washes the kits?
Well, the five-a-sides team?
Aye.
Would that not be the role of the manager in said team?
Potentially, but say a player needs to, the manager's not there one week, the players need to take the kits home. And also, who's the DJ? Who's playing the tunes?
The DJ?
Yeah, like are you going Vinnie Jones? Are you going Roy Keane? Tyson?
I feel like Vinnie Jones would probably be the most. He's probably the biggest muso, I would say.
Yeah, okay. Genghis, maybe.
Well, yeah, but it would be before like the invention of like recorded music and stuff.
Just goats curdling.
Yeah, it'd be like he would have, you know, they'd just be like using anything as a drum or whatever, like smashing his football boots together and all this kind of stuff.
Chanting at the back.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Okay, so this is your team. Manager has to be someone from your phone book.
Right.
Marc Jennings, this is an incredible task to have to keep these 5 players.
A lot of big egos in that dressing room.
lot of convictions in this dressing room.
I don't know who's been convicted. Vinnie Jones? Did he go to jail?
Tyson convicted.
Oh, okay.
Vinnie Jones, I think, was in jail. Maybe.
Yeah, he must have been at some point.
Roy Keane, no. Begbie, probably.
And Trainspotting 2, the whole plot is.
Oh, yes. Genghis, probably before jails were a construct.
He did get away with it, to be fair. Genghis.
Who is the manager of your team? It needs to be someone in your phone book.
No, this is the problem.
Who is managing this team?
I did have a
is
manager.
It one of your fellow podcasters, Stephen Buchanan or Stuart McPherson?
I think you need someone who's going to it's going to be a calm head in this dressing room, right?
Okay.
But it's going to command authority.
Okay.
So I would say voice of reason, voice of Love Island, Ian Stirling.
So you're chucking Ian with that?
Yeah.
Ian's fucked. He's not going to manage that.
I think he would be fine doing it.
Previously on Fantasy Fives.
Yeah, I did, again, to be honest, he was my idea for the Shaggers manager because, again, he's used to dealing with
Commentating on
Shagger.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
okay.
the Love Island.
So,
But he's also one of the only people who I've got in my phone book who people would know that are listening to this.
Sometimes it's better when it's people you don't know. Surely one of your mates would be good.
Well, I was thinking like maybe one of the Old Hill Shed boys, but then that would probably just,
one of the loyals.
That'd be like Chuck Na.
Are we talking the Rockies or the United?
Oh, the United. Well, the young team, but that would be like kind of, you know, putting gasoline on a fire kind of thing. So
who was the leader of the Hillshed United?
Well, there was
it de facto?
It was a de facto. It was like a.
Do you not do like votes each year and everything? Like
no,
that?
it wasn't a democratic system. I don't think.
Yeah.
It was loyalty and stuff like that.
And was it true that RFK was your health minister in Hillshed United as well?
Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Yeah.
No, he never passed the hearings.
So, how do you think Ian Stirling, voice of Love Island, former Dog Ate My Homework star, brilliant stand-up, how is he going to fare managing Genghis Khan or Francis Begbie?
I think
Francis Begbie, the Hibs connection.
Well, there you go. That's it, right? So that's like it's like when like Postecoglou went to Celtic and he had Tom Rogic like an Australian. They've got that connection, right? To Edinburgh boys, right?
Yeah.
And then he's like Begbie is very much the link between the manager and the dressing room.
Okay.
You know, the team. He's the kind of go-to.
And how do we worry about communication? How's Genghis going to communicate in this game? Are you going to talk through him or through the horse?
I think you might need a translator.
Okay.
I would say that might be one of Genghis's kind of like the people outside the park cheering and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think the thing Ian would have in his strength. He's a very likable guy, and I think that people would they wouldn't want to get on his wrong side because they're like, oh, I'll try and do a good job for him. But his main job would be going, guys. The thing is, you can't really get sent off in fives unless have we got a ref in these games?
Yes.
Right, we're fucked.
Do you think they would listen to Ian Stirling?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think so.
Is he promising them a place in Love Island if they adhere?
I think that. I mean, imagine Genghis Khan in the villa. Jeez,
Trotting in.
All these other guys have an A chance.
Okay, so let's
He was very much the Bonnie Blue of his day, Genghis Khan. You know?
What a reference. If you don't understand that, you're a much better person than Mark and I. So let's recap the team for you, Mark. Your team is called Hillshed United.
Hillshed United, yeah.
Are you wanting to play these games in Clydebank?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say
Home
that,
advantage? Are you doing the Drumchapel pits?
You could do goals at Drumchapel
Yeah,
or
okay.
potentially Ant9 Sports Centre.
Nice. Played there. I've not played there in years, man. That is a flashback.
That's where I grew up.
to
That's where I grew
10.
up playing and stuff like that when I was young.
Right, so you're doing goals, Drumchapel next to the big crazy golf.
World of Golf.
Yeah, okay. So there's dinosaurs in there. So I feel that could be triggering for your goalkeeper. But that's beside the point.
I don't think dinosaurs are counting about the same time as Genghis
I
Khan.
think he's that old. We're not sure. So
Okay.
let's go for your team. You have a 32-year-old Genghis Khan on a how old horse?
Whatever the prime is for a horse.
Have a guess.
7.
I feel that's old. I feel that's an old horse.
Old horse? I think they live past 7.
I think a horse. Yeah, I think they live past 7, but I don't think they're prime 7.
No.
So you got a 7-year-old horse with a 32-year-old Genghis Khan. This is your goalie. You're more defensive.
I mean, Genghis Khan is not. He's not even anywhere near the crossbar. He's like way above it.
Yeah, he's defunct. He's literally just chanting. He's just banging stuff. And then you've got Vinnie Jones,
Yeah.
Roy Keane, Francis Begbie, and Mike Tyson, all being shepherded by Ian Sterling. When you hear that back, how do you feel about it?
I think that honestly, like, I mean, that would imagine playing against that Fives team. It would terrify
Yeah,
you.
it would.
Just the sight of that team.
You would nutmeg someone, and then you would wake up in hospital. It does feel like that, doesn't
Yeah. Also, the thing about Ian as well, he looks a wee bit like Jurgen Klopp sometimes. So, like, people might go like, is Jurgen Klopp? Imagine, like, he's fucked.
Klopp. I knew after Red Bull he was going to the hill shed. That's what was happening. Marc Jennings, this is a very different team to anything we've seen before. I very much enjoy it. Where can people get tour tickets? Where can they find you? What's coming up? We plug everything you're doing.
Yeah, so I've got a couple of shows at the Glasgow Comedy Festival. Put an extra couple of shows on. I'm doing St Luke's, which sold it. So there's a couple of extra ones on 2 on a Saturday night at Blackfriars and then one Sunday. I think it's the 15th and the 30th of March. And then I'm doing UK Ireland tour, May and June. So I'm doing about 15 dates across Scotland, England, and Ireland. So yeah, just tickets on my website and all that. And obviously, as you mentioned at the top, very nicely, check out the podcast Some Laugh.
What episode would you say people go to?
The Ray Bradshaw episode.
No, I've done like 3 of them. One of them get cancelled as well. Remember that?
101 was Ray Bradshaw. That was good. That was good.
Was it? One of them, remember we did one and then you said we couldn't put it out in Australia.
We
you
put it on
Roscoe.
Patreon.
Yeah, did you?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It's on, so you sign up to Patreon if you want to hear that.
Yeah, Roscoe
Too
was
hot
saying-
for public
Roscoe was
consumption.
saying a lot of libelous things. I
Yeah,
think I was
yeah.
joining in. So yeah, check out Some Laugh. And who else should they start with? Who should they go with?
Greg Hempel was a really good episode. As you said, Sam Campbell was really fun. Darren Connell,
Dan Connell.
of course, a classic. Would you back on soon? He's in the room.
Nice. That's just the ghost of Connell.
Yeah, and Raymond, as you say. There's loads of really good. We've had.
What's the shiniest one? What should they avoid?
The ones that I'm the one, which is only about 2 when we were in Australia the first time.
Marc Jennings, thank you for coming on Fantasy Fives.
Thanks a lot for having me.